notched orbital.
Yes.
Medial wall. First of all, we have the frontal process of the maxilla. Then it continues with the lacrimal bone. Then we have here orbital plate of the sphenoid bone, and finally body of the first at orbital plate of the ethmoid bone, and finally body of sphenoid bone. Ethmoid bone and body of sphenoid bone. Inferior wall. First of all, this one the orbital surface of the maxilla. Then orbital process of the palatal in the end. And this lateral aspect, it goes from the zygomatic bone. Lateral wall, zygomatic bone, zygomatic process of the frontal bone, and this one, red, is the orbital surface of the great wings of the sphenoid bone. Clear? You see, we should combine our structures, all bones, which you already know. This was. Then, you should say that here we have such structures like Z. For example, this one, fossa for the lacrimal gland. Here it is. This one, supraorbital notch. This one, trochlear fossa, trochlear spine. Here we have anterior lacrimal crest. This one should be posterior lacrimal crest. This one, fossa for the lacrimal sac. Anterior lacrimal crest, posterior lacrimal crest. And here it's continue into the nasolacrimal canal. Nasolacrimal canal, it runs into the nasal cavity. You see, this canal, my point located between the inferior nasal concha and lateral wall of the nasal cavity. See, my point located between inferior nasal concha and lateral wall of the nasal cavity. So in the inferior nasal meatus. Catch? It opens into the inferior nasal meatus. Then, talking about the middle wall, we will continue with this opening. It's anterior ethmoidal foramen. And this one posterior ethmoidal foramen. Anterior, posterior ethmoidal foramens. These foramens for the nerves and vessels reach inner way and supply. If we talk about the vessel here, this part of the skull, and pass. It also goes into the nasal cavity. Supplies superior wall of nasal cavity. Then, between on the lateral wall, we have zygomatic orbital foramen. On the lateral wall, zygomatic orbital foramen. It's well known for you. And this something new is inferior orbital fissure. Between the lateral and inferior wall. Inferior orbital fissure. When we go around to the inferior wall, here we have the infraorbital groove and infraorbital canal. Clear? This one orbital. Okay. Nasal cavity. We can say that this opening which runs or opens nasal cavity, we call it piriform aperture. Piriform, it's translated into English like pitch. It's looked like the pitch, piriformis aperture. Piriformis aperture, it's surrounded by the nasal notch of the maxilla and nasal bone. In the middle line, it's make the anterior nasal spine. Then, nasal cavity, it has both superior, lateral, inferior, and it's subdivided into right and left parts with help of the nasal septum. What about the nasal cavity? Lateral wall First of all, it's built from the nasal bone. Nasal bone. Clear? Then this one is the frontal process and nasal part of the maxilla, nasal surface of the body, maxillary body, and frontal process. Then behind this we have the lacrimal bone. So lacrimal bone is also built the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Then we continue into the ethmoidal bone. It's labyrinths. Labyrinths together with the superior and middle nasal concha. And in the inferior part we have the separate bone, inferior nasal concha. Runs to the posterior side. Here we continue with the perpendicular plate of the palatal bone, and finishing with the middle plate of the pterygoid process. You see, a lot of bones, one by one, forming the lateral walls. Superior wall, it should be here. It's here. You see, superior wall is built from the nasal part of the frontal bone, Then here will be cribriform plate of the ethmoidal bone, and it continues here with the part of the body of sphenoid bone, body, this one, here, superior wall. Inferior wall, it's here. This one, palatal process of the maxilla and horizontal plate of the palatal bone. Clear this? Inferior wall. The inferior wall, at the same time, it's the heart palate, bony palate, this one, or inferior wall. Then nasal septum, which subdivided nasal cavity into two parts. This nasal septum, it consists, biggest part of the septum is two bone. Vomer from the backside, you see it's orange here, and perpendicular plate of the ethmoidal bone is green, this one. Perpendicular plate of the ethmoidal bone. But also, all structures which located in the midline, for example, like the frontal spine, this yellow peak, it's participating this nasal septum. Then conchae crest, sphenoid crest and sphenoid rostrum, it's built this nasal septum. Nasal crest of the maxillary bone here, and of the palatal bone, which rise upward. They are also participate in this nasal septum. Posterior opening of the here, its paired structure, we call choana. It's surrounded by the here upward body of sphenoid bone. Lateral side is the middle plate of the pterygoid process. Inferior side is the posterior margin of the horizontal plate of the palatal bone, and here vomer. This choana and here choana too. Yeah, nasal cavity. While we talk about this, we should say that near the orbita we have some chambers which we call paranasal sinuses. This paranasal sinus is located in the such bone like the frontal, ethmoidal, maxillary, and sphenoid bone. This sinus has relationship with the nasal cavity. And these sinuses, there are opens. We can reach into the sinus through the middle, superior, to inferior nasal meatus. It depends on the sinuses. First, but I forgot. First, we should say that nasal cavity subdivided with help of the nasal septum into right and left part, but with help of the nasal concha, it divided into 4 nasal meatus. Superior nasal meatus, it should be in here. It's in the superior posterior side of the nasal cavity. You see, this one superior nasal concha, so this one superior nasal meatus. You see, it's short and located from the back side. You see, in front of the body of sphenoid bone. Very, very high. Anywhere
Can
there.
you explain once more?
This one.
I didn't understand.
You didn't understand what? What is meatus?
Yes.
Or
this
what
part.
is superior nasal
No,
meatus?
where is the superior meatus?
Superior nasal meatus? There. You see this one, superior nasal concha. Well, again, wait. Nasal cavity. Lateral wall,
Okay.
superior wall, lateral wall, inferior wall. Nasal septum.
Yes.
We divided. Inferior nasal concha, middle nasal concha, superior nasal concha. This is similar from this
Okay.
side.
Okay.
Meatus. It's this space between lateral wall and nasal concha.
Okay.
This one inferior nasal meatus. Middle nasal meatus between the lateral wall and middle nasal concha. Superior nasal meatus between the lateral wall and superior nasal concha. And the common nasal meatus between nasal septum and superior middle and superior middle and inferior nasal concha. Clear? This one common nasal meatus.
Okay.
So four nasal meatus. This is like the little bit separate parts of the nasal cavity.
Okay. Thank you.
So talking about the superior nasal meatus, we should show the short superior nasal concha. It's located here, this one, superior nasal meatus. Anywhere here, you see, there. Middle, it's this one, middle nasal concha, this one, middle nasal meatus, this one, middle nasal concha, so this one, middle nasal meatus. And inferior, it's thicker, it's inferior. Inferior, this one middle, so middle nasal meatus, and there is superior. You can see here this big chamber is maxillary sinus. You can see this opening of the frontal sinus. I will show for you. You see, this one is the middle nasal concha. So here you see this big aperture. It goes through the frontal sinus. We continue there. It comes to the frontal sinus. See there, a rich frontal sinus, and here the maxillary sinus. So you see, okay, let's look at this picture, cross section. You see, here is this one is the fissure which goes into the maxillary sinus. This one, like the infundibulum, which goes into the frontal sinus. So middle nasal meatus, it has openings of the frontal sinus, maxillary sinus, and anterior cells of the ethmoidal bone. Superior nasal meatus is short, so it has openings of the posterior cells of the ethmoidal bone and the opening of the sphenoid sinus. Clear? Inferior nasal meatus, it has relationship only with the nasolacrimal canal. Nasolacrimal canal opens there. You can see this one. This is the opening of the incisor, like the fossa. But it's look like the canal. You see, in reality, it contains vessels. It's canal. It's not only like the opening for fossa. It's named fossa, but incisor canal. We can see it here, and it opens into the common nasal meatus. You see, it opens into the common nasal meatus. Also, sphenopalatine foramen. Sphenopalatine foramen. It is here. It's this one, sphenopalatine foramen. It opens near the superior nasal meatus. Sphenopalatine foramen. Sphenopalatine notch of the palatine bone, and other ones together make this sphenopalatine foramen. So it opens into the near the superior nasal meatus. Clear? Okay. Lateral view. While we look from the lateral side, we can see some fossas No, some three. First of all, temporal fossa. Temporal fossa. Where is the lateral view? This temporal fossa, big one. You see, it started from the temporal line. Yeah, I mean, its limits with the temporal lines, which start from the temporal, from the frontal bone, temporal line rises up. It continues with into the temporal superior and here inferior lines, and these lines comes to the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. You see, it comes here above the mastoid process to here. This temporal fossa, superior limits clear. Inferior margin is the zygomatic arc from lateral side and the infratemporal crest of the greater wings of the sphenoid bone here. So which bones forming this fossa? Parietal bone, inferior part, this one. Part of the greater wings of the sphenoid bone, this one. Temporal surface of the frontal bone, and this one, squama of the temporal bone. Squama is part of the temporal bone, temporal fossa. From this fossa, we can go deeper here, and this one is infratemporal fossa. Infratemporal fossa. Here it is. Infratemporal fossa, I will bring mandible. You see, zygomatic arc is broken here, but ramus of the mandibular, it's make the lateral wall of the infratemporal fossa. So infratemporal fossa, this space. This space. Anterior wall, maxilla, maxilla, infratemporal surface or temporal surface of the maxilla, lateral wall, mandibular, ramus mandibular, superior wall, part of the greater wings of the sphenoid bone, and medial wall is the lateral plate of the pterygoid process. Lateral plate of pterygoid process. You see, we have a posterior and inferior walls. Okay? Maybe you will see it? So, here it is. Infratemporal fossa. Anterior wall, medial wall, lateral mandibular, and superior. Catch. This fossa, infratemporal fossa, it has relationship with the, for example, orbiter, with help of the inferior orbital fissure. With the orbiter, with help of the inferior orbital fissure. The alveolar openings, they run into the alveolar canals to the teeth, to the superior molar. Then we have this and this runs like this. Maybe this little bit back from the infratemporal fossa, but this nerve which runs through this foramen here, it will passes through the infratemporal fossa, so you should remember about the oval foramen and spinosum foramen. It will connect it to this fossa. And finally, mandibular canal, mandibular foramen for mandibular canal. See? That artery which will, or nerves which will pass through the infratemporal fossa, they can come there. Also, we have this fissure. You see this fissure? This fissure, we can say that this fissure is a pterygomaxillary fissure. It's divided into two. You see, it is like the entrance into this fossa. This fossa is a pterygopalatin fossa. Look here, pterygopalatin fossa, and the entrance into this fossa, it's look like it's this fissure between pterygoid process and maxillary, pterygomaxillary fissure. You see this fossa is the pterygopalatin fossa. pterygopalatin fossa. Here it is, small one. This small one fossa. This one. I put my point into this pterygopalatin fossa. And the entrance or border between the infratemporalis and pterygopalatin, we can call this spot is the pterygomaxillary fissure. Pterygomaxillary fissure. I like this fissure to tell about this fissure because what we will say about the relationships of the pterygopalatin fossa, we can say in a beautiful way. Two fissures, two foramens, and two canals. Six different openings. While we miss this fissure, it will be two foramens, two canals, and one fissure. While we have two fissures, it's a little bit more beautiful.
Oh, symmetric.
Symmetric.
Complete.
I like this. So, but we have this. No, you can find this fissure in the terminology, pterygomaxillary fissure, but you haven't in your textbook. This fissure, pterygomaxillary fissure. What about the pterygopalatin fossa? Pterygopalatin fossa is this small fossa which limit from the back side, back wall, posterior wall of this fossa is the pterygoid process, posterior wall, pterygoid process, anterior wall, see, maxilla, and medial wall is the palatin bone. It's palatin bone, medial wall, perpendicular plate of palatin bone. You see three walls, anterior, posterior, and medial. It haven't lateral, it haven't superior, and inferior goes into the fissure, like this, you see? Anterior wall, posterior wall, and their medial wall. Medial wall is this perpendicular plate of the palatin bone. Clear? Clear? Shall I show again?
Yes.
Posterior wall, you see it's anterior surface of the palatin process, pterygoid process, sorry, this one anterior wall, anterior wall, maxilla, and medial wall, it is this one. This is a perpendicular plate of the palatin bone. Clear? Okay. Let's continue then. So as I introduced, 6 openings, two fissures. First of all, the pterygopalatin fissure, its entrance into the infratemporalis fossa, between temporalis and infratemporalis fossa. This one, inferior orbital fissure, again we comes into the orbital, two fissures, two canals. This canal, which you know already, this one greater palatinus canal, which built from the greater palatinus grooves of these three bones, which are here making the pterygopalatin fossa, and we have pterygopalatinus canal. Next canal, it should be here. I can't enter into this canal. Pterygoid canal. Here it absent at all. Here I can't put my point, it's thin. And here it absent. Pterygoid canal. I will find the pterygoid one to show this canal. Here it is. See? In the base of the pterygoid process, pterygoid canal. You see, it comes here to the anterior surface of the pterygoid process, which makes the posterior wall of the pterygopalatin fossa. Here. Clear? Next, this one, pterygoid canal. Here it is. Two canals and two foramens. First of all, we have this foramen. This one, spheno-palatin foramen. I told about this. Spheno-palatin foramen. Where is it? On the perpendicular plate of the palatin bone, between orbital and sphenoid processes. There it was spheno-palatin notch. While we add some other bones, we have now the spheno-palatin foramen. Clear? Spheno-palatin foramen is connect the pterygopalatine fossa with the nasal cavity, or with the it doesn't here, I think. It should be here. To find this foramen, sphenopalatine foramen, what should you do to show it? You see, on the top, on the top, above the zygomatic arc, if we have it, horizontal direction, we move our point into the pterygopalatine fossa and runs through this sphenopalatine foramen. You see, horizontal direction, the level of the superior border of the zygomatic arc. Clear? Pterygopalatine fossa. One foramen, and the second foramen is here. This one?
It's very
This one? What is it?
What is this? Can you show me?
Rotundum foramen.
Tondo.
It's sphenoid bone. Do you see? So this one rotundum foramen. Maybe I should start with the base, skull base. But I think that skull base is a little bit easy. So I start with the harder, complicated parts. No, skull base. In the next part, external and internal skull base. While we talk about the internal skull base, it's this view. We can see that first we should divide it, internal skull base, into 3 parts. We call these parts cranial fossas. Anterior cranial fossa is this one. Middle cranial fossa, this one, and posterior cranial fossa, this one. Anterior cranial fossa from the frontal squama, which limits here with the this part, where it's continuing to the orbital part, and the posterior margin or posterior edge of the lesser wings of the sphenoid bone. This posterior margin. Anterior cranial fossa. Middle cranial fossa is this one. Middle cranial fossa. From the lesser rings to the superior margin of the petrosal part. Middle cranial fossa. And posterior cranial fossa is here. From this to the internal occipital protuberance and transversal groove of the transverse sinus. Okay. Anterior cranial fossa is built from this. What is this?
Frontal bone.
Orbital plates of the frontal bone. This one.
Ethmoid bone.
Exact.
Oh.
Cribriform plate of the ethmoidal bone. And this one, lesser wings and part of the body of sphenoid bone. What can you find here? For example, what is this? Internal frontal crest. What's this? Crista galli. What's this?
Foramen secum.
Foramen secum. You see? Crista galli, foramen secum, internal frontal crest. Okay, what's this?
Optic canal.
Optic canal, and this one prechiasmatic groove. Anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa. We can find a lot of structures. All this sphenoid bone, which builds this, which makes this wall, and you see squama of the temporal bone and anterior surface of temporal bone. It's middle cranial fossa. So what's here? This one in superior orbital fissure. Here, cella turcica, dorsum cella tuberculosum cella hypophyseal fossa. Then this one, rotundum foramen, ovale foramen, spinosum foramen. Then this one,
This is
trigeminal impression. This one,
the
groove for the greater petrosal nerve and the lesser petrosal nerve. This one, arcuate, eminence, tegmen, tympani. Yes, and this is the internal opening of the carotid canal. Internal opening of the carotid canal. Middle cranial fossa. Then I want to say some difficulties. While we collect these bones together, we can find it's goes through the skull, you see? This fissure, this fissure. We can see it from the external skull base and from the internal skull base. You see this fissure? It from here we can see this fissure. This fissure near the apex of the pyramid in front, and the similar fissure you see here behind. You see? Oh, sorry. And the similar fissure behind pyramid. You see? We can see this fissure from this side and from this side. This fissure, which in front of the pyramid, of the top of pyramid, we have sphenopetrosal fissure. Behind, retrooccipital fissure. While we have skull like in our body, these fissures are closed with the cartilage. As if the other foramens there are contain some vessels, nerves, veins, these openings, these fissures, close with the cartilage, but some nerves passes through this cartilage. You see this fissure? There have it should be here one, and here should be another. You see, one here fissure and here is another fissure. This constant synchondrosis, sphenopetrosal petrooccipital fissures. While we talk about these fissures, we should notice that on the top of the pyramid, these fissures make the lacerum foramen. Lacerum foramen. Lacerum foramen is from the external side. But while we look inside, we will see here the carotid canal. You see? Internal opening of the carotid canal. I want to notice that carotid artery runs into the skull through carotid canal, and that part which enters into the skull cavity runs above the lacerum foramen. Catch? So, talking about this skull, artificial, what they did? When they made the skull, they showed this external opening of the carotid canal, and here is the internal opening of carotid canal. They make it here, you see? I'm in canal. But it's mistake. Carotid canal, carotid artery should come into the skull. Here, carotid artery stay anywhere outside. Clear? So, while you describe this skull, you say that this one is the lateral foramen. It's outside. But when we talk about this side, we should say that this one is the internal opening of carotid canal. Clear? Yes. For example, this cross-section, vertical cross-section, pyramid, it's anywhere here. Body of sphenoid bone, pyramid. Carotid artery opening, it's here. It runs through the carotid canal like this. So here we will have lacerum foramen. Lacerum foramen. And above this foramen, anywhere here, we have the internal opening of carotid canal. Clear? It's problem with this artificial skull. In real skull, you can see this carotid canal very good.
Can you show the serum canal?
This one.
This one?
I show with my name this one, the serum foramen. Can you show us?
Okay.
We're using a pen. You see, carotid artery. I put my point into the groove of the carotid canal. This one, lacerum foramen. This one, lacerum foramen, and you see there above this foramen, carotid canal. You see, carotid canal. It runs on the borders of the body of sphenoid body, and here we have carotid groove. Clear? How it happened? Okay. Next, continue with the middle cranial fossa. No, I finished with the middle cranial fossa. Then we'll continue with the posterior cranial fossa. Posterior cranial fossa, occipital bone, past part of the thumb of the temporal bone, and posterior surface of the temporal bone, of the perimeter of the temporal bone. This one, posterior cranial fossa. This one, the clivus. This one, internal, acoustic, meatus. Opening and meatus. This one, subarachnoid fossa. This one, external aperture of the vestibular canalicus. This one, sigmoid, groove of the sigmoid sinus. But here is the jugular foramen. Finally, we have here jugular foramen. Jugular notch and jugular notch together form the jugular foramen. Jugular foramen.
But we have jugular fossa under the pyramid.
And from the it's external skull base.
It's different.
This jugular fossa here. It's external skull base. We talk about the inner internal skull base.
Yeah.
Then this one canal, hypoglossal canal. Hypoglossal canal. You see? Hypoglossal canal. Well known for you. And anywhere we should find the condyle canal. I think this one. Condyle canal, it started from the condyle fossa and come, yes, it's this one. Condyle canal. See, my front and condyle canal. Opening of the condyle canal. Okay. It's internal skull base. Okay. External. We divided external skull base into three sections, three parts: anterior, middle, and posterior. Anterior till the posterior side of the bony palate. Middle from bony palate to the magnum foramen, to the foramen magnum, and posterior till the end. Three sections. Then we can say all things which we can see here. Some I can say that this again: insertion canal, greater palatine canal, lesser palatine canal. That bones which build these are dental alveoli, interalveolar septum, and so on. Coan, I already told you what is called. Its middle part, coan. Lacerum foramen, I also show. Jugular foramen, it's here. And all other, I think that you already know. Welcome. If you want to refresh your knowledge, we can, for example, start from the posterior side to the anterior. This one, external occipital protuberance. This one, external occipital crest. This one, superior nuchal line. This one, inferior nuchal line. Come closer here. Then you will see better and we will work together. Say this if you understand what I should. This one, internal, external occipital crest. Superior, inferior nuchal lines. This one, magnum foramen. This one, condyle fossa. This one, occipital condyle. In the fossa, condyle canal. Okay, here we can see this hypoglossal canal. Hypoglossal canal. Next to the lateral side, we have this. From today's topic, mastoid process, mastoid notch, and groove for the occipital artery, and this mastoid foramen. Mastoid foramen. This one, styloid process, and stylomastoid here and here foramens. Jugular fossa, which we talk about. Mastoid canalicus, anywhere there we can find. Here, this one petrosal fossa, and this one external opening of the carotid canal. This petrooccipital fissure. Petrooccipital fissure. This one, lateroforamen. This one, sphenopetrosal fissure. Sphenopetrosal fissure. And we can find this. You see, it's damaged. It's something artificial. As we joke and say, foramens from the students, making by the students. This one, ovale foramen. This one, spinosum foramen. It should be here. Spinosum foramen. This one, mandibular fossa, articular tubercle. This one, tympanic part, and this one, petrotympanic fissure, petroscalous fissure, and this one, tympanoscalous fissure. Then we continue here. You see the choana right, choana left, medial plate and lateral plates of the pterygoid process. Pterygoid fossa, pterygoid canal. Then this one, muscular tubular canal. Pay attention, you miss this canal. Muscular tubular canal. Do you think? It goes near the carotid canal to here, like this. Near the carotid canal, we say that from the pterygoid process, right from the heel, you can walk and run into the muscular tubular canal. It's continues this will groove for the auditory tube. It goes here near these muscles. And this finally you see these sutures here, transversal suture, and this suture between right and left palatal bone. No, clear? It's external skull base. Then let's go to the museum. And the museum, I will